If you're interested in learning about the union organizer who led pushes to desegregate the military, outlaw race-based employment discrimination within military departments, and provided the framework for the March on Washington, then my A. Philip Randolph Black History Short is for you. Hi, and thank you for tuning in to Noir Histoire. I'm Natasha, and in this episode, I'll be sharing what I've learned about A. Philip Randolph. Born on April 15, 1889, died on May 16, 1979, notable activist and labor organizer, nationality American. Asa Philip Randolph was born in Crescent City, Florida, the second son of Elizabeth Robinson Randolph and Reverend James William Randolph. Randolph's mother was a seamstress, while his father was a tailor and African Methodist Episcopal AME church minister. When Randolph was around 2 years old, his family relocated to Jacksonville's Black community, where he spent the rest of his childhood. His parents were firm believers in Black people's right to equality and the right of people as a whole to be treated fairly and humanely. Growing up, Randolph saw his parents become personally involved in defending the rights of Black people. On at least one occasion, his parents armed themselves as his father went out to help prevent a lynching, and his mother remained home to protect their house. In addition to a penchant for becoming involved with social justice issues, Randolph's parents also passed down an appreciation for education. He performed well in school and attended the Cookman Institute. While at Cookman, Randolph stood out academically, athletically, and creatively as a star in the school's choir, baseball team, and drama performances, which resulted in him graduating in 1907 as valedictorian. After graduating, Randolph spent 4 years working various jobs to support himself while he focused on his acting and singing. In 1911, he joined the early Great Migration and settled in Harlem with hopes of becoming an actor. Yet he eventually set aside his acting dreams in part due to his parents' disapproval, but also as a result of being inspired by W.E.B. Du Bois' The Souls of Black Folks, which encouraged him to join the fight for Black equality. Within a year of arriving in New York City, Randolph was balancing working day jobs with studying literature and sociology at City College at night. Joining forces with Chandler Owen, a Columbia University student who shared some of his views, he established the Brotherhood of Labor, an employment agency used to organize Black workers. At the urging of the president of the Head Waiters and Side Waiters Society of Greater New York, the pair began editing Hotel Messenger, the organization's monthly magazine, but simplified the title to Messenger. The magazine featured articles that equally criticized the ideologies of Black leaders from different factions just as readily as white politicians. Unlike some other activists of the time, Randolph believed that working class rather than middle class Black people would be the driving force for progress. Randolph and Owen promoted their socialist and anti-war views, which unsurprisingly brought them unwanted attention from the U.S. Department of Justice. Despite being investigated, they narrowly escaped arrest as a result of maintaining their distance from communists. During World War I, Randolph and Owen pushed for Black soldiers and civilians to be hired for more positions and to receive higher wages within the armed forces. They also attempted to organize Black shipyard workers and elevator operators. Randolph's track record as a labor organizer led to him being tapped to lead the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, the BSCP, in 1925. In keeping with the times, some unions, such as branches of the American Federation of Labor, the AFL, did not accept Black people as members. The Pullman Company primarily employed Black men as porters for their sleeping cars and was the largest overall employer of Black people. For a decade, Randolph worked to organize the porters and have the BSCP be recognized as their official collective bargaining agent. By not being an employee of the Pullman Company and due to his ethics, Randolph was able to operate as spokesperson and union leader for the porters without fear of reprisal. The BSCP finally reached an agreement with the railroads in 1937 and gained admittance to the AFL. But the win was a Sisyphean task as the AFL's internal discriminatory practices continued. In protest, the BSCP left the AFL and joined the Congress of Industrial Organizations, the CIO. Randolph's role as leader of the BSCP brought national attention and elevated him to the position of being the most prominent and powerful Black union organizer in America. In the years leading up to World War II, Randolph used his notoriety to once again call upon the federal government to require equal employment and fair pay for Black workers in the defense industry. By 1940, President Franklin D. Roosevelt had refused to take action, and in response, Randolph issued a call for a march on Washington, D.C. As tens of thousands of people prepared to descend on the nation's capital, the pressure forced Roosevelt's hand. This resulted in Roosevelt signing Executive Order 8802, which made race-based employment discrimination at the government's defense organizations illegal. Randolph threatened another march in 1948, which led to President Harry S. Truman outlawing racial segregation in the military with the passage of Executive Order 9981. Another major win for Randolph was his selection to serve as a vice president of the AFL-CIO after the AFL and CIO merged. Yet racism within the ranks of the AFL-CIO continued and led to more criticisms from Randolph. In 1959, he created another black-focused labor union, the Negro American Labor Council. As the civil rights movement began to gather steam, Randolph put his skills as an organizer to work. The late 1950s would see Randolph organize general marches and youth marches to protest the continued segregation of schools despite it having been ruled unconstitutional. During this time, he collaborated with up-and-coming organizers such as Bayard Rustin. The organizing strategies that had been executed, along with the seeds planted by the threats of a March on Washington, paved the way for 1963's March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Unfortunately, Randolph's wife of almost 50 years died shortly before the march. Yet he continued with his work as an organizer and founded the A. Philip Randolph Institute to study poverty and trade leaders. As his health began to decline, Randolph retired from public life and resigned from the BSCP after serving for 40 years. Asa Philip Randolph died at the age of 90 in bed at home in New York City, and his ashes were interred at the Randolph Institute. Thanks for tuning in. Show notes and sources are available on the Noir Histoire website via the link in the episode description. I'm working on creating downloadables and infographics, so keep an eye on the website. These Black History Shorts are released every Tuesday, so if you enjoy this episode and want more, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my Black History Shorts playlist.